Welcome to You Son of a Witch. You guys sent in some really captivating stories this week,
Yeah.
hinting at all kinds of things. Hidden magical societies, desperate acts driven by love and fear. We're going on a wizarding probe into these tales, and we're going to see what kind of fascinating insights we can unearth. I mean, think Renaissance Venice with a secret magical current running through it, or the dramatic final moments of Pompeii,
Right.
but seen through a very unexpected lens.
Yeah.
So get ready for some surprising connection.
Oh, yeah.
And a touch of the absurd.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing how, these two very different settings,
Right.
Renaissance Venice and the eruption of Pompeii,
Yeah.
become these potent backdrops for exploring, the role of the fantastical in human drama.
It makes you wonder how the presence of magic might kind of amplify or distort personal and societal conflicts that are already there.
Yeah, totally. So let's jump into our first flash fiction story.
Okay. Venetian vows set in Renaissance Venice.
Okay.
Picture that iconic city, the canals, the gondolas,
Right.
and now layer in forbidden enchantments. At its core,
Right.
it's a story of star-crossed lovers,
Okay.
Julieta and Marco,
Yeah.
from feuding families, but their solution isn't just clandestine meetings.
Right.
They're turning to illicit magic to bridge their family's divide. And it seems they're up against more than just their relative.
Interesting.
A secret magical society within the city itself.
So you've got this dual conflict right away.
Yes.
The personal animosity between the families and then the established rules governing magical practice in Venice.
Exactly.
This interplay between individual desires and societal order. This is so classic. You see this in all these stories involving magic.
Yes.
But putting it into Renaissance Venice adds this really fascinating dimension.
And that's what I love about this story.
Yeah. So our retelling of this flash fiction story is called The Gondola Gambit,
Okay.
which should give you a hint of its playful nature.
Right.
Forget your traditional serenades.
Right.
Marco, a gondolier son,
Okay.
with no magical background,
Okay.
is literally scaling walls to reach Julieta's window.
Oh, wow.
But when he gets there,
Yeah.
the moonlight doesn't reveal a damsel in distress.
Oh.
Instead, he finds Julieta
Yeah.
surrounded by steel and ancient forbidden magic scrolls.
What?
Apparently, the feud between their families wasn't just about, earthly matters.
Right.
Their ancestors had been rival enchantment crafters for centuries.
So this flips the usual romantic narrative.
It does.
Completely.
Yes.
She's not waiting passively.
No kidding.
She's actively looking for a solution.
Yeah.
And that solution involves forbidden knowledge.
Right.
And that detail about the families being rival enchantment crafters
Right.
adds this whole layer of magical antagonism
Right.
to their conflict.
Yeah.
So it's not just social disapproval.
Right.
Now we're talking deeply rooted magical opposition.
Exactly. She's not just dreaming, she's scheming.
Right.
And these scrolls aren't just decorative. They contain powerful, forbidden bindings. Her goal is ambitious.
Yeah.
She says she wants to, quote, weave their families together
Okay.
without unraveling the city itself.
That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, so that kind of hints at
Yeah.
the potent and potentially volatile magic that they're dealing with.
It does.
Now, Marco,
Yeah.
with his non-magical background,
Right.
his magical expertise,
Yeah.
extends to perfectly seasoning squid ink risotto.
Okay.
He becomes both the perfect and the worst accomplice.
Interesting. How does that work?
Well, his role in Julieta's plan
Okay.
is a series of grand, ridiculous distractions
Oh.
while she works her magic.
So the contrast between
Yes.
her magical aptitude
Uh-huh.
and his complete lack thereof
Yeah.
creates this really interesting dynamic.
It does.
It's just that
Yeah.
their partnership relies on totally different strengths.
Right.
and
Yeah.
maybe his grounding in the everyday world provides a nice balance
Yeah.
to her exploration of forbidden magic.
Right. And these distractions are wonderfully absurd.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, first up, a masquerade ball.
Oh, fun.
And Marco,
Yeah.
he has this peculiar talent.
Okay.
A wiggle of his nose
Uh-huh.
causes his face to magically shift.
Oh, wow.
So he's not just wearing a mask.
Right.
He becomes the disguise.
Oh, my God.
We're talking like a dancing bear.
Oh, wow.
A doge with a truly questionable sense of humor.
Okay.
And then the highlight.
Yeah.
A wardrobe malfunction spell gone spectacularly wrong,
Oh, no.
affecting a good portion of the nobility.
Oh.
Like, can you imagine the chaos?
Oh, that's so smart.
Right.
It's like this low-stakes, almost comical magic as a diversion.
Yeah.
So she can operate completely unnoticed while everyone's looking at him.
Yes.
It also kind of speaks to the Venetian love of spectacle and theatricality.
Yes.
Like, even magical disruption may be absorbed
yeah.
into the city's vibrant culture.
To a certain point.
To a certain point, exactly.
Well, they certainly test that point.
Okay.
Next on their list, disrupting a strategically vital wedding.
Oh, no.
And not their own,
Okay.
but one intended to solidify the very feud they're trying to dismantle.
Oh, that's bold.
Their weapon of choice.
What is it?
Pigeons.
Pigeons. Okay.
But these aren't ordinary pigeons.
Of course not.
They're enchanted birds.
Okay.
Booming out sonnets.
What?
Detailing all the disastrous past unions of their families.
Oh.
And to top it off,
Yeah.
they have an unfortunate tendency to, shall we say,
I don't know what you mean.
express their digestive opinions on the groom's rather expensive velvet attire.
Okay, so it's escalating.
Yes.
From subtle mischief at the ball
Right.
to the outright disruption of a serious social event. They're taking bigger risks
They are.
and using poetry,
yes.
which is usually romantic.
Right.
Now it's this vehicle for broadcasting past grievances.
Yes, and then the pigeons themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a memorable form of wedding sabotage.
They'll do it.
Unforgettable.
Really.
And apparently Marco was thoroughly enjoying himself.
Oh.
The story says that chaos was his natural element.
Oh, wow.
Each ridiculous act actually fueled Giulietta's focus.
Interesting.
But then the situation takes a more serious turn.
Okay.
The canals themselves begin to churn,
Oh.
not with water,
Okay.
but with like shimmering glyphs of warning.
Uh-oh.
That's when even Marco realizes they might have gone a bit too far.
Okay.
Enter the Society of Illuminated Sages.
Oh.
These are like the true magical authorities in Venice,
Yeah.
the hidden guardians of the city's magical order.
Okay.
And they appear in a shimmer of pure disapproval
Uh-oh.
and righteous anger.
I bet.
So this isn't just a lover's spat anymore.
Right.
They perceive this as a direct threat to Venice's delicate magical equilibrium.
So the sages
Yeah.
mark a turning point in the story.
Yes.
Now it's not just family drama.
Right.
Now you've got a concealed, magical governing body.
Yes.
And there are repercussions
Yeah.
for disregarding their rules.
Yeah, and those shimmering glyphs in the canals
Yeah.
are a visual representation
Right.
of the magical disruption they
Yeah.
cause. So
Yeah.
they've crossed a line,
They have?
but Giulietta,
Yeah.
with remarkable defiance, doesn't back down.
Okay.
And she doesn't engage in a magical duel with,
Right.
wands or anything.
Right.
She presents her creation,
Okay.
the woven unity
The
spell.
woven unity spell.
It's described as these intricate threads,
That's
gleaming brighter than any of the sage's more traditional enchantments.
interesting.
And her accusation
What's that?
is that the sages are clinging to old conflicts,
Right.
while she and Marco are trying to build a new future.
So her spell is a spell of creation and connection,
Exactly.
which directly contrasts
Uh-huh.
with the history of division between the families.
Yes.
She's proposing a vision of magical evolution.
Yes.
Like sticking to tradition can stifle progress.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The leader of the sages,
Uh-huh.
amidst the outrage of his companions,
Right.
focuses not on their anger,
Okay.
but on the shimmer of desperate hope woven into her spell.
Okay.
And then, get this,
Yeah.
he glances at our chaos-loving gondolier
Mm-hmm.
and offers a tiny, almost imperceptible smile.
What?
It's as if he sees something
Okay.
in their audacity,
Yeah.
a spark of something unexpected.
That's so interesting because that challenges the idea of this rigid, inflexible, magical authority.
Yes.
There's a recognition there that
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
breaking the rules can lead to good outcomes.
Yes.
Like maintaining balance might actually require some adaptability
Exactly.
and an openness to change.
No, it's like he realizes that disruption
Right.
isn't always negative,
Uh-huh.
and perhaps rules are meant to be,
Yeah.
quote, creatively reinterpreted.
Oh, I like that.
So what did the sages do?
Okay.
They don't undo the spell.
Okay.
Instead, they bind it, they temper its raw power,
They kind of refine it.
They do.
A little bit.
And the wedding naturally devolves into a shouting match.
Of course.
That is described as far more entertaining than any formal vows could have been.
Oh, my God.
And the ironic twist,
What's that?
Marco and Giulietta
Yeah.
receive a public reprimand.
Okay.
But secretly,
Yeah.
they're granted a collection of permits for experimental canal enchantment.
Oh, wow.
Because, let's be honest,
Yeah.
Venice has always appreciated a good spectacle.
They have.
So it's surprising, but it's appropriate
Yeah.
for the setting.
Yeah.
The sages uphold their authority
Right.
through the public chastisement,
Uh-huh.
yet those secret permits
Yeah.
acknowledge the potential of her magic
Yeah.
and the entertainment value of their escapades.
Right. So it's like a pragmatic approach
Yes.
to maintaining order,
Uh-huh.
but also allowing for a bit of innovation and public amusement,
Exactly.
which aligns with Venice's reputation for power and pageantry.
And we're left with this fantastic final image,
Okay.
months later,
Yeah.
a lone gondola
Uh-huh.
gliding through a tranquil canal,
Okay.
adorned with these ridiculously oversized,
Yeah.
magically warbling lovebirds.
Lovebirds.
Inside, Marco and Giulietta
Yeah.
are toasting their unconventional union
Okay.
with cheap wine
Nice.
and the promise of a future that sounds both enchanting
Yeah.
and utterly delightfully ridiculous.
Oh, I love that.
What a way to start, right?
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like this blend of romance humor,
Yeah.
magical intrigue,
Uh-huh.
all set against Venice.
Yes.
It uses magic,
Uh-huh.
not just as a plot device,
Right.
but to explore
Yes.
tradition versus innovation.
Yes.
And how chaos
Uh-huh.
can sometimes lead to unity.
Right. All right. Prepare yourself.
Okay.
Because we are shifting gears dramatically.
Right.
Our second flash fiction story
Okay.
transports us to a much darker
Okay.
and more volatile setting,
Okay.
the Necromancer of Pompeii.
A Necromancer of Pompeii.
That's Mount Vesuvius.
Uh-huh.
Unleashes its devastating fury.
Right.
We follow a necromancer
Yeah.
in a desperate race against time.
Yeah.
His objective to locate a lost elemental spell,
Right.
powerful enough to potentially control the elements
Wow.
and save the doomed city, or at the very least offer a slim chance of escape for himself.
So the tone and
Yeah.
setting change completely.
Yes.
We go from Venice
Yes,
to the imminent destruction of Pompeii.
exactly.
And a necromancer
Yes,
immediately brings in this darker, more urgent quality.
yes. It's not about love and social acceptance anymore.
Right.
We're talking about survival on a massive scale.
We are.
Our retelling of this flash fiction story. Okay.
Is titled Ash and Echoes,
Ash and Echoes.
which should give you a sense
Uh-huh.
of the atmosphere we
Uh-huh.
were about to immerse ourselves in.
Right.
Our protagonist is Marcus the Necromancer,
Marcus, okay.
and right away,
Yeah.
the story provides us with his unique perspective on the dead versus the living.
Interesting.
He finds the dead to be, quote, quiet company,
Okay.
even a useful whisper,
Uh-huh.
but it's the living with their, quote, greedy eyes
Interesting.
and their desire to exploit his abilities
Okay.
who truly terrify him.
Oh, wow.
He's in Pompeii because of rumors,
Okay.
whispers of a lost scroll
Right.
containing elemental magic.
Yeah.
So potent, it could potentially quell the volcano,
Right.
or at least buy them precious escape time.
So his relationship with the dead is
Yeah.
not one of fear,
Right.
but almost one of comfort
Yeah.
and practicality,
Yeah.
which is not how you typically think of necromancers.
It's not.
And his motivation for seeking the spell
Doesn't seem altruistic at all.
Right.
It seems rooted in self-preservation.
Yes.
And maybe even a weariness
Yeah.
of what the living want from him.
The very air is described as thrumming,
Okay.
not just with the volcano's rage,
Right.
but with old magic, desperate and clawing.
Wow.
The dead are restless.
Huh.
Their final moments imprinted on the very ash
Yeah.
that's suffocating the air.
Yeah.
And this is how Marcus navigates the dying city,
Okay.
through this grim communion with these agitated spirits,
Oh, wow.
using their lingering echoes to guide him.
So the imagery is so vivid.
Yes.
This atmosphere,
Yeah.
charged with natural and supernatural forces,
Mm-hmm.
the dead clinging to their final moments.
Right. And it's not like scholarly methods.
Right.
He's using echoes of the dead.
Yeah, it's a unique connection
Yes.
to that spectral realm
Yeah.
in a desperate situation.
Uh-huh.
And he's led to a villa by the sea.
Right, to a crumbling villa.
Okay.
Overlooking the sea.
Which could be significant.
It could be. And the way he discovers the spell is quite unexpected.
All right.
It's not a scroll as he'd hoped,
Okay.
but a fresco revealed by the villa's partial collapse.
Interesting.
It depicts a woman with her arms raised in command, surrounded by ancient script that isn't even Latin.
Wow.
Something far older and more primal.
Okay.
And Marcus isn't a linguist.
Right.
He's not a scholar. His power
Yeah.
lies in the echoes, not the original source itself.
That's crucial.
Yes.
Because it means he can draw power from the echoes embedded in the fresco.
Yeah.
Even though he can't read the spell.
Right. It's an intuitive,
Yeah.
almost less refined approach to magic.
Yeah, and very raw.
Yeah. And especially potent.
Yeah.
In a place like Pompeii.
Right.
So saturated with these final moments, with the mountain roaring and the ground convulsing.
Yeah.
There's no time for deciphering ancient languages.
Right.
So Marcus closes his eyes.
Okay.
And he channels the fresco. This desperation of this preserved image surging through him, his usual whispers to the dead transform into a blaze of energy. And the villa's lingering spirits flock to him, weaving themselves into the spectral shield.
The spectral shield.
And when that initial wave of ash and pumice rains down, it's not his skin that burns, but these ghostly forms flickering around him.
He's not just protecting himself.
No, he's containing it.
He's containing the volcanic onslaught.
Yes.
With this raw, untamed power.
And he feels not fear, but this terrible exhilaration.
So that spectral shield and that feeling really kind of drive home what he's doing here.
Yeah.
This desperate act. He's harnessing the forces of death to combat the forces of nature.
Yes, and it shows this blurring between his necromantic abilities and the elemental power he's trying to wield. But he understands it can't last.
Of course not.
The fresco's colors are already fading,
depleted
by his efforts. He can hear the sea amidst the mountain's thunder. And in a final desperate act, he doesn't try to extinguish the fire, but to force a path through it, he unleashes this torrent of spectral energy, carving a passage through the suffocating ash towards that distant shoreline.
So this is it.
It is.
The climax, he's pushing his abilities to their absolute limit.
And the dead are wailing and flickering, their forms thinning as he compels them to create this impossible escape route.
And it's a sacrifice.
It is.
For them to make this happen.
And then the first figures emerge from the ash. Not the wealthy or the influential, but a fisherman, a baker clutching a child.
Wow.
Their faces streaked with ash and etched with terror reveal a profound sense of gratitude.
It's the ordinary people.
Yes.
Who benefit from his actions.
The story concludes by noting that Marcus, in his own estimation, was no hero. His magic was never intended for salvation, but for defiance. Yet in the face of this unimaginable cataclysm, his actions, this passage ripped open in the heart of destruction, made him resemble one.
It did.
And as the spectral forms around him finally dissolved, leaving him coughing and his eyes watering, he did indeed appear a bit like a savior after all.
It's so poignant.
It is.
And thought-provoking. Because he sees himself as someone driven by defiance, not heroism. And the outcome is undeniably life-saving.
It is.
Even if his initial motivations were selfish.
And when the spectral forms fade, it signifies the cost.
Of his magic.
And perhaps a return to his solitary existence.
So
there you have it.
Wow.
Two incredibly different flash fiction stories. Two very distinct applications of the fantastical.
They are.
In Venice, we witnessed forbidden magic. Used for love and a desire for unity. Resulting in chaos, but ultimately a form of acceptance. Then in Pompeii, a different kind of forbidden magic was employed for a desperate chance at survival, blurring the lines between heroism and self-interest.
And what's interesting is that both stories explore the consequences of transgressing these established magical boundaries. In Venice, it's humorous. It leads to a creative reinterpretation of the rules. But in Pompeii, it's far more severe. But it ends in an unexpected act of salvation.
It makes you think.
It does.
About the motivations behind using forbidden magic and the unpredictable nature of its impact. So what resonates most with you?
Oh, that's a good question.
The audacity of Giulietta and Marco in Venice,
Uh-huh.
or the grim determination of Marcus the Necromancer confronting a volcano.
Right.
Do these stories spark any reflections on the nature of magic, the reasons for breaking rules, or just what individuals are capable of when pushed to their absolute limit?
You know, they use those historical settings so well.
Yes.
To amplify the impact of the magic.
Yeah.
Like in Venice, that culture of intrigue and spectacle, it's the perfect place for this chaotic magic to unfold.
Yeah. And in Pompeii, that cataclysmic natural disaster intensifies the desperation and the stakes.
Exactly. So this wizarding probe into the realm of flash fiction has certainly given us some fascinating glimpses into these fantastical scenarios.
It really has. And we really encourage you to delve deeper into these themes on your own.
I agree.
Maybe explore some historical accounts of Venice and Pompeii.
Right.
Or seek out other works of fiction that weave magic into historical settings.
There's always more to uncover when you scratch beneath the surface.
So until our next You Son of a Witch.
Yes.
Keep those curious minds buzzing.
Absolutely.
Remember to rate and follow the show, You Son of a Witch, for more tales full of sons of witches and fantastic creatures from the world of flash fiction in a fun, entertaining way, like fantasy films or best-selling epic series.
And maybe think about this.
Okay.
In a world where magic exists, what defines what's forbidden and who gets to decide those boundaries? The answers, as these flash fiction stories suggest, might be more nuanced and surprising
They might.
than we initially imagined.
Very cool.
Yeah.